Hi and welcome. Today we're going to do a little practice for the hips, and we're going to start by walking. So just walk around your space. Make sure that you're breathing, and just start to pay attention to your breath. You're breathing in and out of the nose, you're breathing long, and you're breathing smoothly. Right now, maybe you're walking in a straight line toward the door or the window. Just keep on walking and then gently look down and look at your feet. And notice whether they're turned out like Charlie Chaplin, whether they're turned in, a little pigeon-toed, or whether they're perfectly straight on, or somewhere in between. And that's just information for you to use. So many times in the hips, we can create imbalances by the way we're walking around. And a lot of times, we have pain in the hips from walking with the toes turned out. And we're walking around, we have external rotation, we have a lot of space in the hip, we have a little bit of mobility here, but not enough strength to back it up. And a lot of times we don't have as much access to this type of strength here. So I want everybody to come into pigeon toes and pigeon hips, so this comes from the hip here. Boom. And you really kind of feel something going on in the hips that's unique. We're going to push out through the heels and just you're going to feel the outside of your hips turn on, kind of ignite something here. So hold one more breath, standing up straight. And then turn the feet forward. Beautiful. All right, we're going to do a forward fold. So I want you to put your hips on a wall. If you have access to a wall. Now you can do this in the middle of the room too, but if you put your hips on the wall, it makes it a little easier. The legs are a little bit wider than hip distance, and then you're going to bend your knees enough to where you can rest your ribs on your thighs here, let your head hang down. And we're going to breathe. Hang and take some long, smooth breaths. Now for the shoulders, you might want to put the forearms behind the calves and pull the shoulders toward the knees. And when you come up, reach your heart out and up. We always lift with a straight spine. And we're going to push ourselves off the wall and come back to your mat. All right, now we're going to explore a little bit more about internal and external rotation. So have a seat flat on the floor, and we'll have our feet on the floor and the knees up. And support yourself with your hands. Lift your chest, and the knees should be far enough apart to when you come into this position, you wind up, possibly being able to put both knees on the floor. But just giving yourself the space for that possibility, for both knees to hit down on the floor. All right, one more time. And in this position, we're going to stop when you have your right leg forward. So you have your right leg is an external rotation, and your left leg is an internal rotation. And we're going to take it over to the other side. Left leg is an external rotation. Right leg is an internal rotation. All right, now we're going to come back to this a little later and do an exercise with it. But for now, we're going to take a block just so we have a little extra padding in the knee. Like I want your knee to be comfortable here. And if you don't have a block, you can fold up your mat a few times, or if your knee feels fine on the floor, that works too. We're going to come into this little kneeling position. We're going to do what I call hip glides. We're just going to go forward and back. I want you to think about your knee really sinking down into the block and your body lifting up from there. Take some long, smooth breaths. And it's just a very gentle glide. We're not going into any deep stretches yet. All right, now we're going to work with external rotation of the left hip. So that means that the foot comes in to the midline. You see my foot back here? So my hip is externally rotated here. I'm going to come forward and back. With long, smooth breaths, I'm still allowing the knee to sink down. If balance is an issue, you can take those arms up. Now let's explore internal rotation of the hip. So put your hands on the floor, and we're pigeon hipped, so your knee is internal. Your foot is over here out to the side. Now when you come up slowly and gently. Put your hands here. Give yourself a little, we don't do this often, so this may feel awkward. It's fine to feel awkward. Here, we're gonna go forward and back. It's a little different feeling, again, because we don't do it often. And it's important to have this range of motion and also some strength here in this position. I'm going to show you how to do that a little later. Hands come down. We're going to push ourselves out. I'm just going to flip the block over and set the other knee on. And we're going to go forward and back here. Hip gliding, forward, back. I love these. They're gentle, but you know, in a way, they get an area of the hip and leg that like a deep lunge doesn't. A few more, forward and back. Just focus on your breath. External rotation. We'll pull the foot in, and we're going to play with a little forward and back. So it's kind of like a teeny tiny lunge is what it's like. You can place your hands on your hips or wherever feels a little natural to you. Just make sure you're breathing. Internal rotation, here we go. Hands down to the floor. Internally rotate. The foot is out to the side, maybe a little awkward as you come up. Catch your balance and take yourself forward and back. All right, let's come out of this. Now, at the beginning I said, you know, several people that I work with have a lot of external rotation in the hip and the leg. But you know, mostly we're talking about the hips here. So external rotation in the hip, but they don't have the strength to back it up. And you know, it can lead to pain. It can lead to, anytime you have pain, you have frustration, right? It can lead to pain and frustration. It can lead to osteoarthritis. It can lead to things like labral hip tears. So we're going to prevent all of that. We're going to nip it in the bud. We're going to come onto the shoulder. I want you to also protect your shoulder while you're here. So our legs are going to be straight. Our feet are together to begin. And we look down the heel, and you have, perhaps you have a seam in your pants, so it'll help you align everything. We're in a straight line. We also don't want to dip down into the shoulder because, you know, I don't want you to have a hurting shoulder when you're done. So we're going to be up here right on top of the elbow. Flip your top leg so that the toes are pointed up to the ceiling. And we have a straight leg. We're going to take our leg up slowly. Now, if you notice that your toes are starting to internally rotate somewhere on here, I want you to really stop wherever that internal rotation starts. And you're going to hold, and you're going to fight it, and keep doing the work of the external rotation. You're going to come slowly, slowly down. And then we're going to lift again. Lift. And lower. It is less important on how high that leg gets, more important to work the rotation. The rotation comes from here. So you can even with your hand encourage. It's not a pull on the leg. It's just a soft little encouragement. All right, last time. And because we're going slowly, you're feeling all of your muscle fibers working. If we go fast, we're going to bypass most of those. We're going to bypass all of the what you're feeling right now in the leg. All right, rest for a moment. You can come off the shoulder if that feels good for you. We're gonna come right back down and go into the starting position. Heels together, toes are pointed up toward the ceiling, and we're gonna make some little tiny circles. And imagine you're drawing those circles with your heels, so you're reaching through the heel. And then we're gonna reverse here. Yes, and then we'll stop, and we're gonna swivel around to the other side. So this will start to develop some strength there to support external rotation. Or perhaps if you struggle with external rotation, that strength will help you develop external rotation. So either way, this is good for you. All right, external rotation of the hip here. We're gonna lift and we're going to lower. Now let's say you're one of those who has a lot of natural external rotation. Remember that we don't let those toes point towards your screen that you're looking at here. They're up to the ceiling. Let's say you're one of the people who has a lot of external rotation. It may be some good work for you to focus on and catch yourself in that external rotation and see about walking, standing with your toes pointed forward. And it's going to take some strength, some additional strength work to do that. We're going to do a little bit of that today. Over time, you'll develop that strength. Let's do one more of these. Over time, developing that strength will even things out in the hips and give you a more balanced hip joint. All right, a little rest, a little pause on the breath. So when you have evenly balanced hips, you know, the whole thing is if the hip joint is balanced, there's nothing pulling, tugging, or grinding in the hip joint, and that's really what we're going for here. So we've got the toes up toward the ceiling, and we're gonna draw some circles. Some circles with the heel. I know you feel your hip. I do too. I'm with you. I've been doing this for a while, and I'm with you. I feel it. Reverse. And release. All right, let's push up to seated. And we're going to come into this little sitting position with your right leg forward. Now let's say this hip is disturbing you a little bit. I want to give you a fix for that, if that's going on. What's going to happen is your head's going to tell you, I'm going to put the pillow under my left hip because that's the one that's up off the floor, but that's not what you do. You actually put it under your right hip. Tricky, huh? But you can see, you can feel that there's more space now for this hip, so it's not quite as locked up feeling. All right, I don't want to use the pillow though. I did in the beginning, but so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be here. I'm going to focus on this back leg, everything from the knee down to the heel. We're just gently going to like start to play with pushing down into the mat. Now, if you have a labral tear, and this is the tear side of the hip, the one that's back, I want you to be really, really gentle here, and maybe go to only a half of a point. Like if you're counting from 1 to 10, go to a half, and then release. And then maybe even just sit there and encourage the hip open if you have something like a labral tear in the hip. But if you do not, what we're going to do is press down. We're going to press down a little bit 1, a little bit more 2. I'm going to count all the way to 5. So 3, 4, and I want all of your pressing ability. 5. I want to kind of slowly come down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now you should have had a biting sensation on the outside of the hip, yeah? Okay, let's do that again. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and coming down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Let's swivel to the left. Swivel to the right and swivel to the left one more time. All right, now again, I'm going to encourage you to put a pillow under your left hip with your left leg forward. That's going to give you more space over here to do this work. Okay, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being on that pillow. Now, if this is a labral tear over here, this is where I want you to just sit and encourage and sit up tall. That's it. That's all I want you to do today. we're gonna push down with the knee all the way through the heel. Boom, this presses. Pressing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We feel that bite. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Press down again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. We're going to take a little swivel, and I actually want you to stand up and have a little walk around. Okay, stand up. We'll walk around a little bit and just feel, because when you start doing this work and you stand up and walk around, you get the sensation in the hips. I want you guys to feel that. It's like solid hips, right? Here. Solid hips. And then look down and see about your feet. Are they turned out? Are they turned in? Are they straight forward? And if they're anything other than straightforward, just for a moment, walk around with straightforward feet. And you know, when you kind of move around, with your feet forward, it kind of smooths you out a little bit, right? Okay. All right, come back to your mat. All right, let's finish the practice with a little simple twist. So the knees are together, the feet are together. We're going to put both of these on the floor. Simple supine twist. There's no mandate that this shoulder needs to touch the floor or anything. What I would rather you do is let your body fold open naturally. And then what you can do with the top hip is you can gently reach it away from the head. It's just a little, your hip reaches. Gives you a little extra space in the spine. Another breath. Now we're going to take the knees apart to come over to the other side so we don't mess with your iliac joint. And then we'll put them together when we get over here. And then again, another little twist. Long, smooth breaths. Now we'll roll all the way to our side. And then we're gently going to push up to seated. And we're going to finish our practice here in a moment, legs up the wall. So if you have a little spot on the wall, you want to put your hip right up against there. And we're going to flip around. And then we'll come into this little pose here. Legs are up. And just rest for a moment. So this again, this builds a little bone density for the head of the femur. And it's generally good to drain the lymph out of the bottom half, the bottom limbs. Gives you a little relief. So it's always a pleasure being with you, practicing. If this practice was enjoyable to you and you got something out of it, I highly encourage you to join me for the hip clinic, where we develop, a really good range of motion, unique strength. We activate and use all of those small and mighty muscles that we usually bypass on a daily basis. Even if we're in sports, we bypass those muscles. So it really is a unique kind of practice that we're doing. And there's all kinds of education about osteoarthritis, sciatica piriformis syndrome, osteoporosis, and tears in the cartilage, and just basically how to have open and happy and healthy hips so that you have all the strength that you need to back up the range of motion that you want. You can find all the information that you need at the link below, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Okay. In the meantime, be well.